Well, I wrote a book with my friend Rod Schenkel called Preventing Alzheimer's. And in the book, we actually argued that before you let a child play a contact sport, like Pop Warner, football, you should actually test him for the genetic markers for Alzheimer's disease. So we know if you have a certain gene, it's called the apolipoprotein E4 gene, that if you have one of those genes, because everybody gets 2 copies, if you have one of those genes, it increases your risk for Alzheimer's disease 2.5 times. If you have both of those genes, it increases your risk 5 to 10 times. If you have one of those genes and you get a brain injury, it's now increased your risk tenfold. So in my mind, I'm going, anyone who plays a contact sport should have the gene, because if they have an ApoE4 gene, they should be playing golf or tennis, or my favorite game, ping pong. Some people will think helmets should solve the problem. Other people think helmets actually make the problem worse, because helmets are now being used as a weapon where people get speared. And a lot of people don't understand that the brain is soft. The brain is the consistency of soft butter, tofu, custard, somewhere between egg whites and Jell-O. And it's housed in a really hard skull. And the skull has ridges, many sharp, bony ridges. So as your brain gets going, and these people are professional, world-class athletes, so it gets going fast, and then all of a sudden, helmet to helmet, the brain stops. What do you think happens inside the skull as it goes like this? And these players want to do so well. They're so competitive. I had one of the players tell me in an interview, he said, "Dr. Amen, I used to try to hit people so hard that I would knock myself out." And I'm like, oh my goodness. And he did on a number of occasions. And you can clearly see the evidence of damage in their brains. It's horrifying. Your brain was not meant to hit soccer balls with your head, and your brain was not meant to be put in a helmet and slammed up against other people. There's a study from Virginia Tech where they put crash dummy sensors in the helmets of high school football players. And what they found on average was that kids got hit in the head 30 to 50 times a game, sometimes with the force of a bad car accident. And one of our players, I was interviewing him, he's a Hall of Famer, he was a tackle. And I said, so how many times did you get hit in the head a game? And he said, how many plays were there? You know, and often there's about 60 plays. He said, about 55. And your brain was not made, no matter how smart you are, to take that kind of impact. Well, you know, we have heard this problem about boxers and this thing called pugilistic dementia. And they've actually associated, if you have a certain gene, the ApoE4 gene associated with Alzheimer's disease, and you're a boxer, you start to show cognitive impairment after your 11th fight. We are beginning now to hear a lot about the increased risk of dementia, depression, behavior problems in football players. And, you know, as any natural evolution, you know, of course, you know, the company that sponsors it is going to go, well, we really don't know. But there are a lot of highly reputable scientists that say we're very concerned about what is happening. And I think after the beginning of our study, there's good reason. You know, I became concerned about this topic. I mean, for years I've been concerned about this topic, and I've always been concerned when I would hear people say, well, we don't know if professional football causes brain damage. I mean, it was many years ago I actually scanned Brent Boyd, who is a Viking who had trouble, and his brain looked like he had chronic traumatic brain injury. But then recently, Anthony Davis, who's in the College Football Hall of Fame and played in the NFL for 8 years, he came to see me as a patient, and he gives me permission to talk about this. He was worried he was going to get dementia because he started having friends who were having significant cognitive problems. Anthony Davis was the football player from USC. Again, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame and played for the Rams and played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's called the Notre Dame killer because by himself he scored 6 touchdowns against the University of Notre Dame in 1972. In fact, the students at Notre Dame hated him so much they would put his picture on the walkways at the university and they would walk on him. In 1974, he scored 4 more touchdowns. But Anthony was very concerned, and his brain at 54 looked like he was 85. And I put him on a handful of our treatments, mostly natural supplements, and he got much better. And he was so excited, he invited me to speak at the Los Angeles chapter of the Retired NFL Players Association. And when I spoke there was such interest and such excitement that I decided somebody has to do a brain imaging study. There's never been a published brain imaging study on retired NFL players. And so initially I thought, well, we'll do 30 players. And as we did them, the results were so stunning. What I decided is, well, we have to do a second arm. So 1, we're going to increase the number of players we study, and 2, we're going to see if we can't rehabilitate their brains. And it's been exciting. Almost all of these men are thoughtful, educated, kind, interesting people that want to do the right thing, and they're scared.